most women, seeking in terms of gender, most women are going to fall into the emotional intimacy, whereas most men are going to fall into the physical intimacy. Both are equally as important in my opinion. And they can flow so easily into one another. So knowing your partner, and even when you just say those words out loud, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, you know what category you fall into, what category your partner falls into. And most relationships, and thinking of, heterosexual relationships, you're probably going to be opposite of each other, which is also very normal. But I just feel like it makes it all that more fun, because then you're essentially forced to have both of those components going at the same time. So then, of course, both people are feeling fulfilled.
I'm Rachel, and you're listening to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. All right, guys, I don't mean to get too personal with you, but that's my jam. When I come across a product or something that I believe in, that I fall in love with, I have to share it with you guys. So that is why I am interrupting this episode today to tell you about Awkward Essentials, which is a company that created the drip stick, aka a cum sponge. Yes. Okay, so hear me out. When we decided that we were going to be a child-free family, and Danny went to get his vasectomy, that allowed us new opportunities to have some more fun in the bedroom, and specifically fun around finishing and what that would look like for him. So afterwards, when this would happen, I would be walking around and it would just be like gooey. I feel like I just left the gynecologist's office, like dripping. And no matter how much I wiped, how much I peed, it still just felt ugh to me. All right. Then my friend told me about the drip stick, and I have been using these for over a year now. I'm obsessed. So this is the original after sex sponge, and it is specifically for absorbing excess cum. It is super soft. It's a medical grade sponge, and it quickly soaks up. Like literally, I insert it, I spin it around a couple times, I take it out, I throw it away, boom, I'm done. And then no more drippy drip throughout the day. It is seriously, it is so good. Now, I realize this is not for everybody, but for those of you that this is for you, I highly recommend going to Awkward Essentials.com. You can find the link in the show here, and using code Rachel91347. That's Rachel91347. Use this code at checkout, and it's going to save you 10% on your purchase. Of course, DM me if you have any questions. I recommend getting the 20-pack or the 100-pack if you really, really like to have sex a lot. And you can also get a little trial size where they send you just a few to try out. They're super affordable too. So go check these out. Again, code is Rachel91347, awkwardessentials.com. Hello. We are back for another Monday on Owning Your Sexual Self. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to this podcast. It's been 3 years now. That is insane to me that I've been podcasting for 3 years, but here we are, new topic every single week, bringing some wonderful guests on for you to hear. And that includes today. Today's guest is Juliette Karaman. I'm very excited to have this conversation. Sounds like we're going to have a lot in common. But before she jumps on here, let me tell you a little bit about her. So Juliette is a certified mind and body coach and an expert on relationships, sensuality, healing, trauma, and body shame. She specializes in the reinvention of the most intimate relationship in life, which is the one that you have with yourself. Yes. With courses, coaching, VIP experiences, and retreats, Juliette has guided and mentored thousands of women over the past decade and a half, rewriting the relationship with self, confidence, their bodies, mind, and spirit using her unique trademark method, rapid release, rewire, and restore. How cool. I'm very excited to hear more about this and what that looks like. And her mission is to create a world where every woman remembers the truth of who they are
and where scrumptious, ooh, what a scrumptiousness, what a fun word, pleasure, ease, spirituality, and sensuality are prioritized. She is a mother to 4 children who are all in their early 20s, and she loves them fiercely. So I'm excited to have this conversation. It sounds like Julia is actually out of the country. I think she's going to be tuning in from Ireland. We'll see when she jumps on. But I hope you enjoy this episode today. And you can find her on Instagram, actually, or Facebook. You can find her at her name, Juliette Karaman. So that's JulietteKaraman, all one word. And oh, she's also a hypnotherapist. This is going to be so good. I'm excited. So stay tuned, y'all. Continue listening. And of course, continue owning your sexual self, which is such a perfect segue into this episode. Welcome, Juliette. Thank you again so much for coming on to the show today. As I said, I know we already just talking offline, we have a lot in common, a lot of similar interests, and all the way from the UK. So how are you today?
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm good. It's been a bit of a week last week and this week with Easter and everything coming up, and I had 2 of my 4 kids here. It was just really lovely to connect and to take some time. For me, it was my late sister's birthday, and that around those days, that's when it hits me the most, that, you know, the people that I miss or that I grieve, I actually allow myself to feel them and to feel myself. And that's when my company is called Feel Fully You. And then I get, you know, kind of like bitten in the ass every time when I don't allow myself to feel.
Yeah. Isn't that such an interesting concept, to allow ourselves to actually feel? I was on Instagram earlier, I think it was today actually, and I came across a meme that was like, I learned how to feel my emotions in my 30s. And I resonated so much with that, just being on my own healing journey these past few years. It's like we're taught to not feel. We're taught, you know, it's don't cry, like keep everything in, stay strong, hold it together. And yeah, it's not until we actually feel that you literally feel alive, when you're actually taking the time to feel emotion.
That's it. No more shoving under the carpet, right? And it's completely like, get up. You're not a sissy. You're this, that. It's like, you've got to keep it together. I mean, my story's been like that as well, you know, being superwoman, having, you know, 7 kids, merged families. And it's just like 7 kids, 7 different schools, 7 different holidays, 7 different, very different personalities. And then you wonder why your body gives up at one point. It's like, hey, listen, smack you on the head, listen. Yeah. So yeah, I learned the hard way to actually slow down a bit and feel.
Yeah. And again, there's just so much beauty that comes, and downloads that can happen when we do finally get into that space of feeling, of silence, just letting us be, not having to do, being in that feminine flow, which it sounds like we'll be definitely tapping into today in our conversation.
I am happy to go wherever it takes us.
Yes. So tell us a little bit just about you, kind of your story, how you got into this work. You have trademarked your own method, which sounds really cool. So yeah, where did it all begin for you?
I have. So I'm Dutch, but I live in the UK, right? And I've been here for 23 years. I have 4 kids in their early 20s. I had 4 kids in under 3 years' time. So yeah, for you moms out there, yes, it was crazy. You know, and actually quite a happy marriage. I adore my ex-husband still. And there came a time that it just, you know, he and I just weren't aligned anymore. So I've always, 2 of my kids are dyslexic. So then I started this whole psychology path, and really to try and help them. And of course, you know, I was a Senko, so I helped kids on the autism spectrum. And of course, I couldn't quite help my own kids. But what happened is, after I left my husband, got together with a man with 3 daughters. So the 2 of us had 7 kids, like I said before, which was a little bit manic, a little bit crazy. I didn't listen to myself very much. I was very in tune with what they wanted more than what I wanted. And I spent 9 months in and out of hospital fainting. So my body actually just told me, hey, you're not going to listen. Well, I'm going to make you listen.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first like wake up call. It's like, okay, we're going to take this a little bit slower. And then I became head of a conscious sexuality program in London, and we brought their first coaching program to London. And I remember going to one of their workshops, and people put attention on me, and they asked me questions that neither my husband or my ex-boyfriend or any of my children had ever asked. And I was like, whoa, what is this? As these people know who I am, right? And it's just by putting attention out and by really feeling that intimacy. It was super intimate to be on a hot seat, right? I'd never been on a hot seat like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember being in this class where they put like a line of tape on the floor, and they said anyone who's ever been hurt in their life, cross the tape, step over the line. So everyone stepped over. And then it just, the questions started getting more and more intense until at one point it's like, who's been sexually violated? And a lot of people stepped over, and it was like, oh my God, that was the beginning of like the Me Too, the empathy, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm not the only person in the room. I'm not the crazy one, right? So that kind of like started my whole journey. Just seeing how much it gave me. Of course, my kids are Muslim, and mommy was walking around with a t-shirt saying the pussy knows. And they're like, what the fuck? I mean, come on, really? So my son's 13 and 14 at that point. We're like, mommy, come on, do you have to be a MILF? Already all my friends are like, what is this? So they didn't quite like that so much. But then that kind of turned. My sister got really ill, and I spent time with her until she passed, so to really like help her pass over, and then help her family a little bit as well, and just be with her, right? And then over the next 2 years after that was my father and my mother, who committed euthanasia. So grief was a big part of my being at that point. So it kind of had me step away from leaving that company. Also, there were a few things. It was just like, no, my time is gone here. But it had me look further inside myself. A lot of people that came to me actually had a lot of sexual trauma. I deal with a lot of women and actually couples who've had sexual trauma. And then also with some parents that have had children that committed suicide. So those are the really deep people that I work with. But at the same time, I also work with all the coaches and therapists that actually get blown open a little bit by the work that they do. And they're not quite as embodied as they want to be with their clients. So I have kind of like a little bit of everything. I became professional dominatrix for a while because, anything that I had charged with, I'm like, okay, let's do it. It's kind of like, I had fear of jumping out of a plane. So it's like, okay, let's duplicate it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell. My kids now are like, okay, mommy, you're actually helping a lot of people. I've added hypnotherapy to my bag of tricks, or actually Juliette's jewels, as I call them. It sounds a little bit better than my toolkit, right? And it's just, so everyone is different, and everyone needs a slightly different approach. We're not just cookie cutters. We can't just do one approach that fits for everyone. I'm sure you know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, like so many of us in this industry, you are a woman that you wear many different hats, right? Dominatrix, hypnotherapist, pleasure coach, working with coach, like all these different things that you do. And how do you know, what is that internal drive for you? How do you know when to listen or take action on the things that sort of come your way? As you said, you decided along the way to add in hypnotherapy. Like how do you know within yourself when the time is right?
It's really beautiful. Where last week I took that time off. I was supposed to do a masterclass, and I'm like, nope, I'm postponing it. And I was like, no, you're lazy. You get all this masculine, and you're like, no. What is it? Are you just not stepping up to up to what you're supposed to do? And this and that. I'm like, no, I'm actually feeling I'm gonna let myself do and be massively creative. So it's really learning how to be with yourself. And it was interesting. Yesterday I was making a journal for one of my my clients, and also realizing that it's she has a daughter that would love this. And what we're not taught is language of sensations. So that's often something where your partner will say, hey, how are you feeling? And you're like, yeah, good. Okay. It's like, what does that tell you? Absolutely nothing, right? Fine.
Yeah.
It's like, so when I was in my conscious sexuality and Tantra and BDSM, really what helped was giving each other a body frame. A moment, what's happening in your body right now? So what's the felt sense? So it could be temperature, it could be texture. Yes, I'm frozen, icy cold. I have one part of maybe the middle of my chest, my solar plexus feels a bit frozen. The texture is, say, smooth or raggedy. It's swirling. Then you can have the kind of pressure. I'm looking at my face because I've just printed it out. The shape of it. But this is what we do with trauma processes as well. We actually get people to really realize and focus on that part. And what is that? So if I tell you, and you're like, hey, Juliette, how do you feel? I'm like, well, I have this kind of lump in my throat. It feels a bit constrictive. Feels like it's about a cricket ball or a baseball ball for you guys. It's heavy, around, about 3 kilos. Feels a bit gray, and it's just jagged, but it's stuck there. And you're gonna be like, oh, okay. That didn't tell me how your emotion is, but it actually showed me what I could feel, what's happening in your body.
Yeah, and some people don't know how to handle that when you go into such depth like that, because so many of us just are the baseline of emotions. Like, I'm good, I'm fine, it's okay, everything's just it is what it is,
And the thing is, when you first start teaching this to people, like, why do I want to know that? It's like, well, you want to have intimacy with me, so that means into me you want to see. So this is what's going on for me at the moment. I don't even need to give it an emotion, but this is what's going on for me. And I might have the thought that it's because I'm sad or I'm fearful or whatever, but it just really connects. I just noticed the way it connects me to myself, me to my partner, me to my kitties, to the world, basically.
Yeah. I remember the first time one of my mentors took me through an exercise like this of feeling anxious, within the body, or feeling stressed out about something. And I remember her asking me, like, what does it feel like in your body? And going through something similar that you just did. Like, it's this black spiky ball. I feel it in my stomach, like in more like sacral root chakra area. And for me, like, anxiousness and anxiety it always resonates for me in my stomach primarily. But it was so fascinating to be able to go through this and to give it a picture, like give it a texture, instead of just saying like, I feel anxious, right? Like, what does that actually mean? Versus I have this black spiky asshole ball in my stomach right now. And as you're going through the practices, as she took me through the practices, it was like I had that thing to visualize on and focus on, to where as I was going through the work, I could literally feel it getting smaller, like feel it dissipating from my body. And that, even now when triggers and stuff come up and I feel that black ball appearing, it's like, just what she said is like, name it to tame it, was one of the phrases that she uses. And it's like, if you can,
beautiful, I love that.
you could give it this concrete thing, it's so much easier to work with it, rather than just saying I'm anxious or I'm overwhelmed,
But also it just doesn't really create connection. So it's just like, well, what do you want? So as coaches or as therapists, and we say, what does that feel like for you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of want to understand what it's like for you in your body, and what's coming up for you. And people can get so frustrated. They're like, just I'm just annoyed. I'm like, okay. And that is where the learning is, right? Because that's where they often pop out of their bodies. And it's like, okay, so let's bring it back to the bodily sensations, because a lot of us are massive empaths. A lot of us are very energetic beings, right? We're all made of energy, but some of us can actually handle a lot of intensity, and some of us are like, we pop out and we don't actually realize that we've popped out of our bodies, and we're like spinning in the head, right? And some simple things to really get back to a room is like, take a moment, look around, find 3 objects, accept them. Yeah, they're in my room. Wiggle your hands and feet, do a little bit of pitter patter on your forehead. And it's all these somatic experiences and all these exercises that people are like, that's so simple. It's like, yes, it is simple. And you've probably spent the last however many years of your life not doing it because we unlearn it.
Yeah.
It's
And
like feeling. We don't.
When you put this into then the pleasure space or intimacy space or space of sex, how can these practices or feeling in your body make a difference for somebody in that aspect, in the sex and pleasure aspect?
Love that. So I spent a year doing unconditional sex. I had massive charge of this because some people were doing this. So it meant like a year long, you have sex with, if you can, every day with a different person. And then when it reaches a peak, when there's no more sensation, you say, thank you, bye-bye. I was like, oh my God, you can't do that. And like, so I did it for a year. And it was probably one of the most interesting experiments of my life, where it's like, can I teach someone to be with me and to actually have so much attention on me and on themselves as well, to realize what's happening in their body, so that if the next touch is not a higher sensation, then we stop and we say, hey, we've reached the peak, and we always leave at the peak. So definitely by getting in touch with your body, by starting to notice what's going on in your body, you can share that with your lover, your partner, whoever, and really just say, hey, there was a moment when you kissed me and I had this feeling, and then you describe it. So it brings intimacy, but also it helps to de-escalate things, because people can, if you then make adjustments saying, hey, could you go a little bit more to the left? Could you go a little bit slower? And even slower and even lighter. And often that's like, especially like my partner in the beginning, when I used to ask him, he thought he did something wrong. But if I said, hey, I'm feeling this beautiful expansion in my chest, and could you go, it's really warm, and then expand it, and it feels fluttery, but can you just go a little bit lighter, a little bit slower? And then it wouldn't trigger him. But if I just said, hey, babes, can you go a bit slower? He'd be like, am I doing this wrong? And he'd go into his head and complete like disconnection. It just wouldn't be right.
Ego comes out. Yeah. And, in that aspect of when we feel shame in the bedroom, or we feel like we're doing something wrong, or even not speaking up for what we want, we know as the professionals how far that gets us, really. But you talk a lot about really helping people overcome body shame specifically, which is something that I hear so often with my clients, is if you're not in love with your body, if you're not loving your body exactly where you're at right now, we're constantly working to change what we look like, or look quote unquote better, look how we think we're supposed to look. And you mentioned, there's so much of a deeper root where this comes from, rather than just what it is that we look like. Can you speak on this a little bit in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, if we look back at how we were brought up, right? I mean, and even if it's difficult for you to imagine, but look at a baby. Isn't a baby loved the moment that it's born? Or a little chick or a little puppy? I mean, does it need to do anything to be loved, or are they loved? I mean, most people, there are some, obviously some cases that no, but let's talk about just everything. But then us, in the first 2 years, we're like sponges. We soak everything up. We don't even know what's ours, what is our environments, what's our parents. And so much is ingrained in us that we have to be a certain way, that we have to look a certain way, that we start disconnecting from this vessel, this who we are. And now with social media, and then, I mean, I look at my twins. I have 2 twin daughters, and then 2 boys and twin daughters. And if I just see the pressure that they're under to look a certain way, and their friends, and they have to go out and they have to wear a certain handbag, and it's like, wow, there's so much attention to that, and actually to the person, or to the being that's inside this body. Right. So I mean, I've struggled with weight all my life, right? I've, until probably recently I've gone up and down, and I think now the last 5 years, with all the grief I put on, I don't know if I'm like 50 pounds, which I've taken off since the summer. And it just kind of happened by me doing some mirror work and actually starting to love myself, and look at myself in the mirror and just saying, hey, you're worthy just who you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what, what others see. It's just love yourself. And it's easier said than done. Right. And I mean, there are definitely certain ways of doing it, but I see so much body dysmorphia, and just so many people that even my daughter was talking to me yesterday. One of her friends works in a club and said that he just had to fire a girl who is a normal size, I think American, probably size 6 or so. It's like, yeah, she's just too big to dance for us. And I was like, wow. I mean, that is crazy. That is just crazy, where we get so shamed for being too thin, too fat, too jiggly, too this, too that. It's either too much or it's too little. So it's like, well, what box should I fit in so that, I'm acceptable for you?
Yeah. And I think it takes such bravery to go down that rabbit hole, essentially, of, okay, if you're wanting to lose X amount of pounds, or you're wanting to fit into this dress or whatever it is, it's like continuing to ask yourself why, until you can really get to the root, which I'm going to guess 99% of the time stems from something of your childhood, probably a belief that somebody else put on you. But it takes, brave is just the word that I'm going to use. It takes so much bravery to do that internal work with yourself, and to be brutally honest with yourself about your views around weight or whatever it is, sexuality, whatever it is.
Anything, right? Because that's just how we've been conditioned. Like sexuality, what have you been taught about sexuality? What did your parents believe? What was your religion? What was the school upbringing? I remember when we moved from Switzerland to the UK, and I had the 2 boys, and then I had the twin girls here in the UK. And I remember asking my husband's cousin, like, so what do you call vagina? She's like, oh, we call it front bottom. Oh, like, front bottom? What are you talking about? I'm like, really? Because I wanted to kind of know, like, what do I call it for the girls, right? Yeah. I'm like, front bottom, that just doesn't feel good. But it's like things just don't get spoken about. Yeah, we don't, or down there. I'm like, really? Come on. It's like, it's just weird that people are so anxious to actually talk to their children about it. I remember when my boys started having girlfriends, that I went and bought a family pack of condoms, and I had the conversation. My husband and I had split up already, and it was just like, you know what, they're closer to me, so let me at least have that conversation with them. And I also said to them, I said, yeah, boys, all these girls that you're with, they all have parents, and they all have family, they have brothers and sisters. So I really want you to always respect them, and remember, what would it feel like if your sisters were with someone and that person then chats about it and talks about it? So they've always been like, they've always been very respectful of women and of being with someone else. But it was like, sometimes you just need to give them a little bit of boundaries, what is okay and what's okay not to do. And then there's like also explaining to them, like, hey, what you see in porn is not how sex actually is. It's let's remember that these are actors. Yeah. And it's a big industry, right?
That hour, however long of porn that you just watched, probably took 10 plus hours to record and take. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Wow. And I remember my girls becoming, that age that they had boyfriends, and they're like, they got their hands on porn, and they're like, are we supposed to do that? I'm like, you never have to do anything that you don't want to. So really start checking in with your body. What's a no and what's a yes? That's another really, really good exercise to do, because most of us don't know that no is a full sentence. Like, no, because, and we feel bad and we actually don't want to hurt the other person. But by doing that, by saying no, but we're actually hurting ourselves energetically, where it's like, no. No, and then after a while, no starts feeling really good, and then your yeses feel so much better than your wholehearted yes, right?
Yeah. And I think it's such an important conversation too, is taking the time to give the thought into this thing that you're being asked of, or that you're curious about. Is it a yes, or is it a no? And I always like to live by, if it's not a hell yes or a fuck yes, then it's probably a no. Like, I want to feel really charged in my body and doing something, because when I found in the past, when I show up and I'm like, okay, maybe, like, let's give it a try, it's like this wishy-washy, and you're not really into it. And feeling fully present in sex and connected to my partner is something that is, it is a top priority for the both of us. So we both now are just, and it's such a beautiful thing when you can be okay with hearing no from somebody else, and knowing that just because this thing is a no, that doesn't mean there's not 2,500 other things that you can do sexually in that moment that are going to be, hell yeses for you.
And isn't it beautiful actually receiving a no as well? When you receive a really full-bodied no, it's like, oh, that feels kind of hot, that feels good. But when you feel like, oh no, it's like wishy-washy, that just doesn't feel good. Wow. And I remember, like, in my workshops, before COVID, in-person stuff, we would spend a lot of time getting people to understand their no's and yeses. And although it seems like such an easy concept, I think we'd spend like 2 hours having them go around the room and asking certain things, and then really realizing what it was. After a while, they were like, oh my God, that feels good.
Yeah, you feel powerful, almost. Oh yeah, you're expressing your throat chakra. I mean, all the woo things. It comes from saying no or saying yes. So
completely. And how we can then use it in sex and touch is, I like doing body mapping with my partner, and I get my clients to do this on each other as well, unless I'm actually physically doing it for them. But simple questions like yes or no, right? It's like, did you like the pressure up? Yes. Would you like me to have more pressure down? No. So where it's just like, otherwise they start going back into their head. So it's like, did you like touch A? Yes. Did you like touch B? No. So it's just like, yes, no, higher, lower. Yeah. Give them the decision between A and B. Just make it really easy. It's like, okay, did you like this touch, A, or did you prefer B? B. And it just takes having to go up to your cognitive brain out of it. It's just like, oh, just boom. And that's this moment. In 10 minutes, it might be completely different. There is no set way.
So, yeah, it's your sexuality, your pleasure, all of it is fluid. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And what was coming up when you were just speaking to for me is that for people, for the person that's answering the yes or no, for the people out there that are people pleasing, like this, that is like such a...
I've been one of those.
I've been one of those. My husband has been one of those. And it's like, using the example with when it comes up for my husband, I'm like, I just want you to make a decision. Like, when I ask you what is it that you want for dinner, you're like, I don't know, what do you want? I'm like, I asked you, like, I want you to make the decision. I want you to be firm in what it is that you want. And yeah, because if you can do it in the day-to-day stuff, it becomes so much easier in the sex stuff. But it's
beautiful.
It's so hard.
But it's so right where we don't know what we want. Often it's like, I'll ask people, it's like, what do you want? It's like, well, I don't want this, this, and this. And this is how I used to be. It's like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that. No. It's like, well, what do you want? Let's bring it in. So another really fun exercise that I do with my couples is I have them make each other a cup of tea. So one of them gives really precise instructions. I'd like to have some Earl Grey tea in that really thin porcelain cup with a dash of milk in it before. Of course, we're in England, everyone drinks milk, right? And then with a tiny bit of whatever of sugar, don't stir it, whatever. So they give really precise instructions, and then the partner comes and gives them the tea, and it's like, oh, give them a sick shit sandwich. Like, yes, thank you for bringing that, and adjust them. Oh, I love the tea that you brought me, and it's a little bit too bitter for me. So could you make it again for me? And then completely adjust to how you want. So then the partner is also like, oh, okay, yeah, you want to do that. And then they go back and forth. And sometimes it's 5-6 times. You know, by then it's like, fuck, I've really done this so wrong. But transfer that to the bedroom, where it's like, oh, could you go a bit slower? Then it's again, it's not your skill that they're criticizing, but it's just like, oh, at this moment, how it feels really good for me is this way. And we're setting each other up for success, right?
Yeah. And it's so much more fun and pleasurable for you when the person you're having sex with is also experiencing joy and pleasure and happiness, you know?
Completely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, you know, where did I turn the oven off? It's like, oh my God, they're like socks on the floor. Did I shave? Oh, maybe I'm smelly. I don't know. You know, you get so into your head that it's difficult to actually get into the pleasure zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, I think, is a good segue into our conversation around the emotional and physical intimacy. And for you, what you suggest to your clients on how to stay intimate in those longer term relationships.
Yes. So I have some peeps that have been married for ages and haven't had sex for 23 years. So I was like, oh, they came to me, they're about to get divorced. And I'm like, okay, you know what? We're taking sex off the table. They're like, well, that's easy. We haven't had sex in 23 years. I'm like, yes. And after, you know, a few weeks working with me, you might actually want it, but I'm taking it off the table for 6 weeks. So you're not allowed to have it. Mm-hmm. So that, first of all, you know, that's my little dom. It's coming out now.
Yes.
Not allowed to have it. So first of all, that, you know, kind of like piques everyone's interest. Like, oh, and if we can't have it, then maybe we should. And then I get them to schedule in 6 weeks dates. Date morning, not date evening, because everyone in the evening is tired. So in the morning or lunchtime. And I get them to do some stuff before they have that first date. And really make a list about what did you love about your partner? What were the things that you loved? What brought you together? Then make a list of what did you love doing as a child yourself? And then that first date, we know that sex is off the table. They've had babies, they've arranged babysitters, make sure that the phones are not on. They're not talking about work. They're not talking about their kids. They're not talking about what needs to be done, but they're only focusing on each other. So I give them a lot of prompts, like a communication game. And the funny thing is that after a bit of this, it's like prompts like, tell me what you love about me. Tell me what you have fears about, and tell me what you desire. Tell me what one thing that you want me to know about yourself, and really set a timer on that. It's like people get so touched again that they're like, wow, there's so much here. There's actually, they've opened up, because we armor ourselves, right? We were with someone, we kind of just don't make time for it anymore, and then that physical touch just passes, drops off. But spend a few weeks actually having dates and focusing on the good stuff, and focusing on things like, how would you like to be touched? How do you want me to love you? All that kind of stuff, where it's really like, you know what? And then you start doing the body mapping. And it's like, oh, can we have sex now? It's like, no, 6 weeks. That's after 6. So usually by week 3 or 4, they break through, and they're like, we have to admit something. We're like, yes, we've been naughty. I'm like, oh, naughty.
Yeah.
And it's, but we forget that to make time for each other, that, you build a life with this person. And there might be so much resentment, and there might just be so much like, just, whatever, we've just become roommates, bless you. But to get back into that intimate space is just really important.
Yeah. And that, what you were speaking to, that level of vulnerability, and when that's how that ties into emotional intimacy, and most women, seeking in terms of gender, most women are going to fall into the emotional intimacy, whereas most men are going to fall into the physical intimacy. Both are equally as important in my opinion, and they can flow so easily into one another. So knowing your partner, and even when you just say those words out loud, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, you know what category you fall into, what category your partner falls into. And most relationships, and thinking of heterosexual relationships, you're probably going to be opposite of each other, which is also very normal. But I just feel like it makes it all that more fun, because then you're essentially forced to have both of those components going at the same time. So then, of course, both people are feeling fulfilled.
Completely. And just communication is such a massive piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can't communicate what feels good, then your partner is going to be like completely in the shadows. Like, give them some feedback. Yes, that feels great. Or hey, can you go a bit slower? Or it's like, if you've actually peaked, you're like, no, it doesn't feel good anymore. Don't go on.
Mm-hmm.
How many women, and there's some men as well, but how many women have just gone on, faked an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
This is like anything, faked a climax just to have it over with, and then that loads into the body, and that loads into the whole cervix. That whole area of our body becomes very armored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything for the male gaze, right? That's how society sets us up. Well, before we wrap up here, we have to hear about your specific method, your trademark method, this thing that you specialize in. Please. So rapid release, rewire, and restore method. What is that all about? What does that look like for people?
Well, I'm in the process of getting it accredited. So I worked for 3 years and helped a company with other coaches really go through a range of different methods. So it's a little bit of pieces from everywhere. So it uses hypnotherapy, it uses EFT, it uses cognitive CBT, and also a lot of metaphysical stuff. So any experience can be broken up, if we really break it all the way down, into 4 elements: an image, something that you see, a thought you have, so something an emotion that you have,
mm-hmm.
and then a body sensation, right? And you can hear, you can smell, all of that we call it under body sensation.
Mm.
Now, I didn't know, but I've already started doing this very early in my life. You actually when you duplicate those 4 elements, you move through something. And like we've all heard the thing, right? It's like the only way to get out of something is to move through it. You can't just shove it under the carpet. You can't just walk away from it, try to walk around the pothole. Now you got to jump in, feel it, and then get out of it to really experience it. So when I was in a workshop, I was getting flogged, and I just realized that some fell on my shoulders. I'm like, oh my God, my body was just like trying to let go of something. So I said to the teacher, I said to her assistant, the madam, I'm like, please, can you just go a bit harder? So I duplicated what I needed to remember that I had a date rape when I was 18, and I completely forgotten about it. So my body could actually release that trauma that was stuck in me. So then afterwards, I was like, okay, what's the image? What's the thought? What's the body sensation? What's the emotion? And as you can bring up layer after layer, and you get to a place where you're like, oh, there's no more monkey mind. There's no more thoughts pulling me away, body sensations. I'm actually being present in the here and now. And we all know that, everyone speaks about it, Eckhart Tolle, everyone, the power of here, and now. There's so many things that if you can actually get back to this moment, to see the gratitude, to see the beauty of it, and then be in the here and now. And from there, you take the first step towards whatever you want to pull into your life. It's actually quite a simple thing. I add a little bit of SC, of somatic experiencing to it, because I've dealt with a lot of massive trauma for people. So
Yeah.
But it's easy to learn. It will probably go live, I would say, in May, end of May, maybe June. And at the moment, I mean, it is already live, but training for other coaches and for people to do. So,
Yeah.
but you can go on my website, and there's also a whole bunch of freebies there. There's actually a meditation there that I take you through triggers that you can just download and hear about it all yourself.
Yes. Sign me up. That is, my background is in sex therapy. I transitioned into sex coaching over the last few years. So the fact that you bring some of those therapeutic models into it, plus more of the holistic models, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna definitely keep this in mind as put it on my list of, what did you say, your tricks. I got to come up with a cool thing for Rachel's, I don't know, Rachel's tools, Rachel's tricks, something. I need it to start with an R, so we'll brainstorm what that is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. You can just kind of come up with something fun in your bag of tricks. But yeah.
And you cut out a little bit when you said your website. Can you say what the website is one more time for people?
Yes, it's called feelfullyu.com.
Okay. Feelfullyu.com. Perfect.
Yeah, feelfullyu.com. And there's a whole page there's a whole bit with freebies. I've done scrumptious dates, which, you know, you get the first week for free. And a lot of the things that I talked about, well, actually, a lot of communication methods are in there. So I teach people either in person or online. And one of my main programs is the scrumptious experience. Because I'm getting more and more men that actually want to come into my world. So it's not just women anymore. So I used to call it the scrumptious woman, but now it's like, no, it's a scrumptious experience, because we all want to be a bit more scrumptious. Yes.
I love calling in those men that are ready for their sexual awakening and are going through it. And they're like, what do I do? What, you know, those are my favorite men to work with for sure.
Completely. And there's so many beautiful men out there that want to hold space, and that, you know, they shame themselves and they blame themselves for what they didn't know. And it's like, you know what? You didn't know. So yeah, you are now learning, and you're learning to hold space. And that's what we all want to be seen, heard, and loved and understood, right?
Yes. Juliette, this was such a great conversation today. Again, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Check out the website, check her out on Instagram. You have so many things to offer people. So thank you so much for the work that you do. And again, this wonderful conversation today.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you really fucking loved it, make sure to tag me on social media at @TheRachelMain. I'll see you next week.